Believe it or not, we've already reached Unit 5. Time flies when you're having fun. Now, Unit 5 contains a lot of descriptions and expands what we call your active vocabulary. We all understand many more words than we actually use when we speak. In this course, we're trying to turn more and more expressions and phrases from being passive knowledge to become part of your active vocabulary repertoire. So let's start by having a closer look at the opening dialogue.
Welcome to our guest, Dr. Will Harris, who has managed to break the cycle of poverty.
And as we've learned in previous units, the standard reply is,
My pleasure. One thing is for sure, I am who I am today thanks to my teacher, Laura Hope.
The opening words, one thing is for sure, are there to stress the importance of what will come after. Now let's skip to this sentence. Notice how clear the comparison is.
Unlike most doctors, I grew up in the slums. Education or crime were the only ways out of poverty.
It's admirable that against all odds you chose medicine.
I'm sure you all know the word admirable, but do you use it?
It's admirable that against all odds you chose medicine. Strange, both options have drugs in common.
Against all odds is a phrase that has come into English through the betting world. It means that the chance and possibilities for him to succeed were very low. We have a number of expressions and phrases in this unit to show that you thought about this before.
That never crossed my mind.
Here's a great expression, that never crossed my mind, meaning I never thought about it before. Quite similar to what our interviewer says.
I hadn't thought about it that way.
But when you're presented with a different viewpoint, then it sounds really sophisticated and learned if you say,
That's an interesting perspective.
and if the information changes the way you look at things, then you could say,
For me, it's a real eye-opener.
and informally, if you want to say, I understand, you can just say,
Well, I get it.
and if you have doubts about what the other person has said or don't believe them, you could say,
You're having me on.
or,
Are you pulling my leg?
and when you want to commiserate with someone, in other words, show that you understand what they are feeling, try using,
That's too bad.
or that's a shame, or that's a pity. Now, when describing something, you need to give the person you're talking to the feeling that they were really there. Look how the adverbs and adjectives help you to feel this.
I moved cautiously towards the sound, noticing shattered glass and a trail of blood. At this stage, I didn't consider for a moment that I could be in imminent danger. I crept forward.
And a few more examples.
As a matter of fact, it was traumatic and eventful. I arrived panting and breathless.
Try and use these words as much as possible until they become part of your active vocabulary. And here are so many more examples.
Victims of corruption in one way or another. Peer pressure. Influential activists minding my own business.
Of a corrupt system of government. Seems like a reasonable request. I'm an eminent professor. I have a dreadful sense of direction. I got hopelessly lost. A winding staircase. Traumatic day at college.
I don't want to,
Beat around the bush.
and I want to conclude this unit. And let's, as a finale, choose a few set expressions that can be very useful. The first expression,
I was frightened out of my wits.
which means really frightened. And we have two useful expressions which use the word I.
My life flashed before my eyes. I couldn't believe my eyes.
But,
Cut a long story short,
yes, to cut a long story short, I think that's sufficient for this week. Until next week.